If you think about it, light moves very slowly. It takes a photon 5.5 hours to get from our sun to Pluto. That's a trip from Calgary to Edmonton and back, if you drive like I do. I mean, it's the fastest you're allowed to go in this universe, but it's slow. Like molasses slow. Plot that out on a road map. Lay the solar system out on your dashboard. See it all out there in front of you. 5.5 hours. Calgary to Edmonton and back. The nearest galaxy to ours is the Canis Major Dwarf Galaxy, which is 25,000 light years away. The light from it that we're seeing now was sent to people who still live in caves, and I think there's something really lonely about that. The slowness of light is an unbreakable rule as far as we know. It keeps a lot of us waiting, just crawling around in the dark. Life is grim and pointless, but at least there's hockey, right? I'm pretty sure it was Wayne Gretzky who said, "The universe is a cold, meaningless place, indifferent to the struggles of man." I've been an Oilers fan for 14 years, and I think that pretty much covers it. I started to root for the Oilers the same year the Flames almost went all the way. The year it was in, but really wasn't. And then Tampa stomped their brains out in the 7th game. I looked at all that stupidity, all the dumb chanting and the sea of ugly red sweaters down 17th Avenue. I was 14, and I was at that age where you start to realize just how absolutely horrifying it is to exist, and I didn't like seeing other people happy. I was probably a little too smug when the Flames finally lost. I have a little more empathy now, and in hindsight, it was a pretty crushing way to go out. But at the time, my first thought was to just really rub it in, twist the knife in all those heartbroken people. When you're a teenager, you get that the universe is cold and indifferent, but I don't think you get that other people feel that way too. So I started rooting for the Oilers out of malice. I didn't even really like hockey back then. I didn't really like the Oilers. Not at first. The Oilers had this quality, I guess. There wasn't any big-name talent on their roster in 2004. Ryan Smith, Sean Horkoff, Fernando Pisani, Raffi Torres. These were just lunch pail guys. They weren't different or special in any way. They were just dudes. They were dudes who killed themselves every night, blocking shots, eating cross-checks in front of the net, and getting punched in the face. A lot. For them, the game was cold and indifferent. But they loved it anyway. And they grew on me. 2 years later, they'd add Chris Pronger to their team, maybe the angriest thing to ever put on human skin, and they went on this crazy fucking cup run all the way to the finals. Over the course of those games, my ironic fandom turned into genuine love. I watched that unremarkable team, the lunch pail underdogs, claw their way to the finals. Led by Chris Pronger, stomping on dudes' Achilles tendons, breaking noses with his elbows, and putting up a team-leading 21 points in the process. He was this manifestation of misanthropy and hate. He was my favorite player by far, and watching him, very briefly, seemed to illuminate the universal architecture of joy. They lost in Game 7, and Pronger was traded in the off-season. What happened next is lovingly referred to as the Decade of Darkness. The team sucked. The management was incompetent. Prospects didn't develop. Free agents refused to sign. Shit, people had clauses put in their contracts to specifically avoid being traded there. Watching those teams play hockey was like staring at a black hole. Just absolute, immutable darkness. In 2010, after one of the worst seasons in franchise history, the Oilers drafted Taylor Hall, first overall. He joined this supposed new vanguard of talent, Linus Ullmark, Magnus Pajärvi, and Jordan Eberle. Their initials spelled hope. It didn't quite shake out that way. Hall and Eberle were both traded, and watching them play now feels like seeing your ex with someone new who makes them happier than you ever did. Ullmark washed out. There's a video of him crying somewhere online from when the team finally cut him, but I couldn't find it. He's making about $500,000 a year in the Russian leagues now. This is what he's most famous for. And it didn't even happen in an Oilers jersey. Pajärvi's career has been so inconsequential, I couldn't even find footage for this segment. That 06 run was a long way gone, and it didn't look like there was any light up ahead. And that's just kind of where we are now. I've been following this terrible team since I was a kid, and I'm still in love with them, because sometimes, not too often, but sometimes when I was crawling around in the dark, and when I felt like I couldn't see my own hands in front of my face, I'd watch the Oilers, and if I was lucky, they'd give off a little light. Not much has changed since I was 14. I'm still kind of a lonely person. I'm still floating around in an uncaring black void, just like everybody else. The Oilers are still a desperate team, floating around in an uncaring league. They've never won a damn thing since I started rooting for them, and I still can't help but think that's partly my fault. I know it's not, but I still think it, and that's okay. There really is still hope there. There has to be. And I know none of this matters, because even if they did win something, I understand that deep down it won't make me happy. It won't make them happy. Not forever. It won't fix any of this. But it's there, right now. That painfully slow movement of light. And I get to watch it. I still live in an absurd and sometimes cruel universe. But it's not the Oilers' fault. Mostly not. I still wake up every morning, and I still make myself watch this terrible team that I love. Watching bodies collide in the chaotic stillness of a meaningless universe. This team, if nothing else, has taught me patience and persistence. If you're stuck in the dark for a decade or more, all you can really do is get your skates on, get the shit beat out of you night after night, and find a way to be grateful for the opportunity. Light moves very slowly. The light leaving Canis Major right now will take 25,000 years to reach us, but it will eventually. That's the funny thing about light. It's slow as hell, but it doesn't ever quit. Light's a lot like Raffi Torres when you think about it. The light will get to you eventually. And, man, when you finally see it, well, in person, it's pretty damn fast.